A number of Canyon County residents are being told that deadly contaminants are living in their well water.
New at 10, the night team's David Gale has tapped into a hazardous situation that just might send a flood of bad news to well water users throughout the Treasure Valley in an exclusive 7 investigation from the ground to the faucet. What you need to know about unsafe nitrates.
Mark and Carolyn, it's not a big deal if you live within city limits, but it is a growing problem for some rural well water users, and 48% of Canyon County's population resides on rural property. A recent study conducted by the Department of Environmental Quality shows this, an area of concern from Parma to Melba, and just about everything in between. The problem? Nitrates. A nitrate is a particle that floats freely in groundwater, but in large doses can be dangerous to people. In infants, a nitrate overdose is called blue baby syndrome.
The body converts the nitrate to nitrite, which then in turn reduces the ability of the blood to carry oxygen to the body.
So where's the biggest problem? Experts say it's right here in this section north of Caldwell. Almost 2 years ago, residents of a subdivision in this area were told their well water was getting worse, almost to the point of being undrinkable, because of an increase in nitrates. A recent report by DEQ states the majority of excess nitrates are coming from crops that are receiving too much fertilizer. But they say the number 2 problem is feedlots. At this subdivision, 15 homes share water from a single well, but things have now gotten so bad, DEQ says they must drill a new, deeper well. That's because the deeper you go, the cleaner the water. A recent study shows 20% of Canyon County wells, less than 200 feet deep, are officially contaminated, which means the water contains over 10 nitrate parts per million. But of wells that reach the lower aquifer, only about 4% are contaminated. However, digging deep is not cheap.
We're looking probably at a tune of about $250,000 for this little small subdivision. People here can't afford that.
In the meantime, homeowner Paul Day has installed his own filtration system.
No, this was $3,000. But I'm drinking good water.
But DEQ does not allow a filter to replace the need for a clean water source. That's because at any given time, a filter could fail.
Drinking this stuff for, 1 day or less can have a health impact.
And for those who don't want to deal with the water problem, simply moving may not be an easy way out.
And I've got one neighbor that's got his house up for sale. Can't sell a house. Cannot sell it till this is taken care of one way or another.
Now, even though a subdivision or 2 in Canyon County is being forced to find a new water source, the majority of homeowners in that area didn't even know their water might be contaminated until this week. Tomorrow I'll explain why private well owners have been left out of the loop. Mark, Carolyn.
Now, also tomorrow, we'll tell you about what's being done to get the word out, and as David examines who may have known about this problem and for how long, they haven't said anything. Part 2 coming up tomorrow night at 10.
Number 1 at 10, where the news comes first. This is Idaho's News Channel 7. The news at 10 starts now.
These guys were paid to do their job. It just wasn't important to them.
Some Canyon County residents say local leaders failed to tell them about a hazardous situation. It's a growing problem with rural drinking water. We told you about it last night.
Nitrates have seeped into Canyon County's well water from farms and feedlots, but no one bothered to tell the majority of homeowners in the most affected areas.
The night team's David Gale continues his 7 investigation into this potentially dangerous dilemma. David?
Mark and Carolyn, as I told you last night, nitrates in well water are causing concern from Parma to Melba. But while many residents are worried about what to do, many others don't even know the problem exists. Tonight I spoke to county leaders about what they knew of this nitrate problem and when they knew it. The more homes built in rural Canyon County, the more drinking water in the area has become contaminated. It's a problem with nitrates seeping into well water that the Department of Environmental Quality says comes primarily from fertilizer, feedlots, and septic tanks. DEQ has made homeowners on public well systems aware of the situation, but the majority of people in the worst areas are on private wells. And until this past week, no one has said a thing to them.
Nobody has asked to be checked, told us to check it or anything.
They need to know to go be tested, have that water tested. It could be killing them. literally.
Officials told people in this subdivision almost 2 years ago that they had a problem with their water. But because this house across the street is on a private well, these folks didn't find out about the problem until just a couple of weeks ago from their neighbors. So why hasn't any agency or elected official tried to warn private well owners of the dangers associated with being overexposed to nitrates? The county commission says it is still waiting to hear from DEQ and the Southwest District Health Department as to where the nitrates are coming from.
They're monitoring the wells, so that information would come from those agencies.
Right. DEQ says getting the word out is the job of the health district,
who is specifically charged with by our legislature as having the responsibility of helping and giving assistance to private well owners.
And the health district says no one has responsibility to tell private well owners about their drinking water.
Private wells in the state of Idaho are not regulated, and it is up to each private well owner to have their well tested.
And that's true. Legislation only gives power to DEQ to regulate public water systems, areas with 15 or more connections to a single well or 25 or more people. But local resident Paul Day says elected officials should have taken the reins by now anyway.
Well, what do we elect those officials down there for? They've known the problem. DEQ told them.
When we sat down with Commissioner David Ferdinand to ask why they didn't share that knowledge, he said our information was off.
The body of the commissioners has been aware of the growing nitrates over the last couple of years.
No, I don't think that's accurate.
But records show commissioners were made aware of the nitrate problem at least 2 years ago. They've met with DEQ since then to discuss the increase in trends of nitrates, and were told that a number of wells in the county exceed health standards. And in one meeting, it was suggested to do more outreach and education to private well owners. And although it appears efforts did finally begin this past week to get the word out, some want to know why the private well owners weren't notified when the problem first came to commissioners.
Why are we being told now instead of 2 years ago, if indeed they were talking about it 2 years ago?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So what we've learned is that although a number of agencies were aware of this problem, no one group was obligated to inform private well owners of anything. Call it a glitch in the system. However, the agencies are holding a press conference Thursday to discuss what is being done. But for Virginia and Carl Rucker, they're not waiting any longer to find out what officials have to say. They're listening to their neighbor and getting their well tested.
Chances are it's probably contaminated like the rest of the area.
I want to find out because I don't want to continue doing something if it's going to make me sick.
Ultimately, if you have your own well, it is up to you to know what you're drinking. Here's what you can do if you're concerned. Go to your local health district office. Mark, they can provide you with a container, test your water, and let you know if you have anything to be worried about.
Also, if you'd like to see the results of DEQ's most recent study on nitrates in Canyon County, head to our website at ktvb.com. We've got a hot link set up.